أهلا بيكم. احنا ما زلنا في application 2 and we're going to do an exercise that covers items 1 to 8. Okay? طيب, let's look together at the first one. You know what happens here. You have a blank in the sentence and you're supposed to choose one of four choices that best completes the answer, that best completes the sentence. طيب, let's look at number 1. The three basic chords in the tonic, the dominant, and the subdominant. طيب, أنا هنا الجملة دي أنا بقول the three basic chords. Subject. In بعد in يبقى لازم يبقى عندي object of in, object of the preposition. بعدين ما عنديش فعل. يبقى أنا عايزة noun, which is object of the preposition, and a verb for the sentence. نشوف كده. Functional harmony لا, عايزة noun و verb. Functional harmony is. طيب, ده أنا بقول the three basic chords, أنا عايزة فعل يبقى جمع طبعا. يبقى functional harmony are هي دي. Functional harmony, the three basic chords in functional harmony are the tonic, the dominant, and the subdominant. طيب, نشوف نمرة 2. Hale telescope at the Palomar Observatory in Southern California, scientists can photograph objects several billion light years away. ممكن نكون مش فاهمين الكلام ده. أنا لازم أركز فيه مثلا عشان أفهمه لأنه علوم. طيب, لكن أنا بقول Hale telescope at the Palomar Observatory in Southern California, scientists can photograph objects. طيب, أنا عندي هنا subject و verb وكل الحاجات الأساسية دي, الحاجات اللي فوق دي غير أساسية. الجملة الأساس عندي scientists can photograph objects, هي دي. طيب, يبقى أنا عايزة حاجة تكمل Hale telescope. Hale telescope is a noun, يبقى أنا عايزة preposition عشان أعمل منها prepositional phrase. أقول the مفيش preposition. With the عندي preposition أهو. They use the, يبقى that's where you have the preposition and you need the telescope. يبقى with the Hale telescope scientists can photograph. نشوف نمرة 3. Without the proper card installed inside the computer, جزء مش مهم, prepositional, impossible to run a graphical program. ما عنديش هنا لا subject ولا verb. أنا لازم أقول مثلا it is impossible. أهي is definitely because of it is. That's where you have the subject and the verb. It is impossible to run a graphical program. شوف الجملة اللي جاية. The charter ميثاق. The charter for the Louisiana lottery was coming up for renewal. عندي comma, يبقى أنا عايزة هنا إيه؟ connector. وبعدين spared no expense in the fight to win renewal. طيب, spared is a verb, يبقى أنا عايزة connector و subject. طيب, the lottery لا. So ادي اللي عندي فيها connector وادي اللي عندي فيها connector. هقول so the lottery committee and ده انا عندي بعد في اول البلانك, بعد البلانك انا عندي الverb, so I need the subject. يبقى so the lottery committee spared no expense. يبقى هي number C. Let's look at number 5. While in reality, Alpha Centauri is a triple star, أنا عندي أهو الconnector و Alpha Centauri subject و verb to the naked eye to be a single star. لكن لا عندي هنا subject ولا verb. I need a subject and a verb. نشوف. It appears subject verb, but it appears مش عايزة دي, أنا عندي connector. Appears despite it no. يبقى it appears to the naked eye to be a single star. Number 6. The sun's gravity severely distorted the path of the comet, entered its wildly erratic orbit around Jupiter. يبقى أنا عندي sun's gravity ودistorted وبعد كده عندي entered its widely erratic orbit. لا، هنا لا عندي connector، أنا عندي فعل، يبقى الفعل كان عايز subject وعايزة كمان connector. يبقى when و it ولا after the comet came into entered، لا ده فيها يعني ما تنفعش. يبقى once the comet came once the comet entered its widely erratic orbit around Jupiter. لأن ما أقدرش أقول سي، صحيح أنا عندي connector لكن عندي came، طيب ما هو أنا كمان هنا عندي entered، مش هيبقى عندي فعلين. يبقى once the comet entered. طيب نشوف نمرة 7. Each object blank Jupiter's magnetic field is deluged with electrical charges. Each object، ما فيش هنا نقطة. Each object Jupiter's magnetic field is deluged. Is deluged is a verb. وeach is a verb، يبقى أنا عايزة حاجة هنا which is not a verb، ممكن تبقى صفة ولا حاجة. طيب each object enters، it enters، لا entering، لأن entering is not a verb. It is used not as an adjective لكن it is a reduced adjective. هي كانت each object which is entering the magnetic field، فاحنا عشان نعملها phrase a reduced adjective شلنا الفعل، يبقى each object entering Jupiter's magnetic field is deluged. أرجوكم لما نكون بنعمل الإكسرسايزز دي ركزوا في وحدات الكلام كما لو كانت أجزاء في معادلة علمية. مش ضروري أفهم معنى الكلام، لكن لازم أعرف الجزء ده بشكله وبمكانه هو اللي أنا عايزاه ولا لأ. طيب as the name suggests، دي نمرة 8، the Prairie Wetland Resource Center، the protection of wetlands on the prairies of the Dakotas, Montana, Minnesota, and Nebraska. طيب as its name suggests، ادي الجزء اللي هو the dependent clause as its name suggests. ادي عندي الكونكتور وعندي السبجكت والverb. طيب the Prairie Wetland Resource Center، كلام كتير أهم فيه كلمة هي center، وبعد كده the protection of كذا on كذا of كذا، كلام كله مش مهم، لكن أهم حاجة إن أنا ما عنديش إيه؟ ما عنديش الفعل. يبقى the Prairie Wetland أو the center it focuses، ما هو the center هي it focuses on the protection. طيب focusing to focus on، لا هي focuses on، that's what I need. The center focuses on the protection of wetlands. طيب نشوف بعد كده نمرة، دي كانت نمرة 8، نشوف 9 و10. One of the largest and most powerful birds of prey in the world a 6-foot طبعا one of the largest and most powerful birds of prey in the world وبعدين كما، يبقى ده ايه؟ ده اللي بنقول عليه الopposition، البدل. يبقى أنا عايزة هنا إيه؟ subject. طيب عندنا verb a 6-foot wingspan and legs and talons roughly the size of a man's arms and legs. أنا ما عنديش هنا لا فاعل ولا فعل. طيب أقول so؟ لا I don't need a connector. The harpy having I do not have a verb. With the harpy having برضو لا أنا عايزة subject و verb اللي هي the harpy has. مش ضروري نفهم حاجة لكن يعني ده طائر. The harpy has a 6-foot wingspan and legs whatever. هو أنا كنت محتاجة هنا subject and verb اللي هي the harpy has طبعا أنا عارفة إنها verb وما دام أنا هنا عندي ذا يبقى أعرف إن الكلمة اللي جت بعد ذا is a noun تبقى فاعل. يبقى عندي فاعل وفعل هما اللي هيملوا المكان ده واللي في الأول ده بدل apposition انتوا عارفين إنه مش مهم. alright. طيب نشوف نمرة 10. Creation of such a community was a desirable step. The requisite political upheaval had to be accepted. طيب أنا عندي هنا كوما وعندي بعدها political upheaval هي اللي noun يعني subject had to be accepted verb. يبقى أنا في الجزء الأولاني من الجملة اللي مفصول بالكوما يبقى أنا كان لازم يبقى عندي إيه؟ لازم يبقى عندي connector ولازم يبقى عندي subject and verb. نشوف حاجة بconnector. عندي since the وعندي later the creation of a community was a desirable مش عارفة ايه the requisite لا هي since the creation of such a community was a desirable step the creation subject was verb و since connector وبعدين عشان كده حطيت كوما the requisite political upheaval had to be accepted الفاعل والفعل التانيين بتوع الجملة. طيب alright you have your answer key here we did that but when you are studying alone في الحاجات المكتوبة ممكن تبصوا عليه. alright طيب let's look at number 2. Scientists are now beginning to conduct experiments on طيب trigger different sorts of health risks. يبقى أنا عايزة هنا إيه؟ أنا عايزة هنا يعني أساسا عايزة يبقى عندي فاعل subject وعندي أهو الفعل. طب تعالوا نشوف فين. طيب on noise pollution can trigger لا on that noise لا on how noise pollution trigger دي ممكن تبقى صح. طيب الاختيار عادة بيبقى بين حاجتين on how noise pollution trigger ولا on how noise pollution can trigger. تفتكروا ايه اللي ممكن اختارها؟ لو انا قلت on how noise pollution trigger لازم اقول triggers لان pollution is singular يبقى هضطر اختار ايه on how noise pollution can trigger لان ما يبقى عندي can الفعل بيجي في المصدر يعني ما يبقاش فيه اس. alright طيب تعالوا نشوف نمرة 3. The Apollo 2 astronauts ما فيش هنا على فكرة full stop. The Apollo 2 astronauts blank of the Earth's inhabitants witnessed on the famous first moonwalk on July كذا where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. طيب هقول who of the Earth's inhabitants witnessed ولا who millions of the Earth's inhabitants witnessed ولا where some of the Earth لا أنا بتكلم عنهم هم يعني they are the object who were witnessed. يبقى whom millions of the earth's inhabitants witnessed on the famous first. كل يعني انتوا عارفين ان انا اي حاجه جت بعد preposition هي مش ضروريه. اهم شيء اشوفه في اي حاجه ان انا اعرف فين السبجكت and the verb. The Apollo 2 astronauts were نيل أرمسترونج and باز أولدرن. يبقى اللي جاي في الوسط ده كله ايه؟ اللي جاي في الوسط ده كله صفات. طيب انا عايزه صفه الاسترونوتس هتبقى ايه؟ whom millions were some of. لا whom some. لا whom millions of the earth's inhabitants witnessed. هتبقى number B. نشوف مع بعض نمرة 3 أو نمرة 4. At the end of the 19th century, Alfred Binet developed a test for measuring intelligence served as the basis of modern IQ tests. طيب served دي بتعود على ايه؟ اكيد على a test. يبقى هقول has, it has, and ولا I need a connector and the verb. يبقى a test which has served as the basis. Right? طيب نشوف نمرة 5. Have at least 4 hours of hazardous material response training is mandated by federal law. أقول all police officers have at least 4 hours of hazardous materials response training is mandated. طيب is mandated هي دي الفعل. يبقى all police officers must have is ما تنفعش برضه، لكن أقول that all police officers have at least for that all police officers. حكاية إنه كلهم لازم ياخدوا كذا. That all police officers have at least 4 hours of hazardous material response training is mandated. يبقى that all police officers have كذا is mandated by federal law. نشوف نمرة 6. A cloud's reservoir of negative charge extends upward from the altitude at blank وبعدين the freezing point. أقول at temperatures hit ولا at hit temperatures ولا at which temperatures hit the freezing point ولا at which hit temperatures. طيب أنا بقول from the altitudes at which. طيب بعد which at which بعد كده أنا عايزة subject and verb. يبقى at which temperatures hit the freezing point اللي الحرارة ساعتها بتوصل لدرجة التجمد. شوف بعد كده نمرة 7. In a 1988 advanced officers training program. كل ده مش مهم ولسه ما جيناش للبلانك. Samson developed a plan to incorporate police in enforcing environmental protection laws whenever بعد whenever يبقى أنا عايزة subject and verb. فين بقى عندي subject and verb؟ الوحيدة اللي هي it is و it has. ما بقولش it has feasible لأن انتوا عارفين BLE يعني صفة، يعني it's a complement of the verb. لكن it has لازم يجي وراها مفعول، لازم يجي وراها object. يعني whenever it is feasible، يبقى هو ده الاختيار اللي هختاره، لأن السبجكت والverb دول عايزين object وراهم. طيب نختار، نيجي بعد كده لنمرة 8. will be carried in the next space shuttle payload has not yet been announced to the public. طيب has not yet been announced ده ايه؟ the verb. يبقى انا عايزه فوق ايه؟ يبقى انا عايزه subject. السبجكت هنا في will be carried، يعني السبجكت هنا is a whole clause، يبقى هختار it will be carried. لو قلت it will be carried خلاص الفعل والفعل وانتهينا. it will be carried in the next space shuttle payload وخلاص تبقى خلصت الجملة. لكن أنا عايزة noun clause serving as a subject، يبقى what will be carried in the next space shuttle payload has not yet been announced to the public. طيب نيجي لنمرة 9 وبعدين 10. during free fall، مش مهمة دي. up to a full minute a skydiver will fall at a constant speed of كذا. طيب يبقى during free fall أنا هنا عندي two clauses. a skydiver will fall at a constant speed of كذا. طيب عندي هنا كوما وبعدين عندي اهو skydiver will fall subject and verb، يبقى فوق انا عايزه ايه؟ عايزه برضو subject and verb. during free fall فين بقى subject والverb؟ it is ما ينفعش لان انا عايزه حاجه فيها متعلقه بفول دي. being ما تنفعش برضو لان ما عنديش subject هنا. يبقى الوحيده اللي هناخدها اللي هي which is. during free fall اللي هو القفز الحر during free fall which is up to a full minute a skydiver will fall at a constant speed of so and so. طيب نشوف آخر واحدة. the fact the most important ratings period is about to begin has caused all three networks to shore up their schedules. طيب أقول the fact is that، لا ما أقولش is لأن أنا عندي بعد كده الفعل is about to begin. لا يعني ده فعل لسبجكت قبل كده. أقول the fact is that no the fact of لا، يبقى the fact that the most important ratings period is about to begin كل ده subject ماله has caused all three networks to shore up their schedules. طيب نشوف دلوقتي عندنا an exercise a review exercise covering items 1 to 12. أول واحدة فين البلانك؟ There is no blank here. يبقى the blank must be here. طيب loom high above the north and northeastern boundaries of the expanding city of Tucson. loom high above. طيب يبقى أنا هنا محتاجة إيه؟ محتاجة subject. The Santa Catalina Mountains loom high above. يبقى هي دي. the Santa لأن because لا. The Santa Catalina Mountains are برضو لا. That the Santa Catalina Mountains loom high يبقى لازم بعد كده يبقى that the Santa Catalina loom high مش عارفة ايه يبقى ده subject is so and so وانا ما عنديش كده يبقى the Santa Catalina Mountains subject loom high above the north and northern sea boundaries. طيب نشوف نمرة 2 radioactive حاجة provides a powerful way to measure geologic time. طيب radioactive دي صفة يبقى أنا عايزة بعد كده إيه مفيش هنا كوما يبقى أنا عايزة بعد كده عايزة noun which will serve as the subject in the sentence يبقى أشوف أدور هنا على noun it لا dates لا dating وكان طيب dates ممكن تبقى noun و dating it is a noun طيب أنا عندي الفعل هنا provides which is a singular verb يبقى هختار إيه radioactive dating radioactive dating هي السبجكت a singular subject for a singular verb. طيب نشوف بعد كده نمرة 3 contained in ده أسفة هي not chromosomes هي مفروض تبقى ولو إن مش مهم لأن قلنا المعاني مش مهمة in the chromosomes طيب contained in the chromosomes and they are thought of as units of heredity طيب يبقى أنا هنا عندي and بتربط جملتين ببعض طيب أنا عندي هنا contained ممكن تبقى فعل وممكن تبقى جزء من فعل وممكن تبقى صفة لكن المهم ان انا هنا عايزة subject فابص بقى على noun عندي فين nouns عندي genes which are contained وعندي genes are contained طيب لو قلت genes which are contained in the chromosomes يبقى انا بعد كده كل ده فاعل وهبقى عايزة الفعل يبقى انا هاخد هنا ايه genes are contained in the chromosomes and they are thought of as the units of heredity. طيب نشوف نمرة 4 the benefit the study is that it provides necessary information to anyone who needs it. أو the benefit which the study the benefit that the study the benefit because the study لا the benefit of the study is the benefit of the study. طيب نشوف نمرة 5 the same symptoms that occur هنا البلانك the same symptoms that occur وبعدين بعد كده عندي occur with cocaine هختار هنا ايه انا عندي the same symptoms that occur amphetamines ولا with amphetamines the same symptoms that occur with amphetamines can occur with cocaine يبقى it's B the same symptoms that occur with amphetamines مالهم can occur with cocaine. طيب let's look at number 6 طيب many companies across the country have molded the concepts describes into an integrated strategy for preventing stress. طيب أنا هنا في كل حاجة عندي wolf capital letter، يبقى ده اسم بني آدم. يبقى many companies across the country have molded the concepts. أقول and wolf describes ولا this is an adjective clause؟ the concepts that wolf describes into an integrated strategy for preventing stress. طيب نشوف بعد كده نمرة 8. طيب let's look at number 7. أنا عندي blank وبعدين appears in the first draft of the budget will not necessarily be. طيب يبقى أنا عايزة هنا appears دي verb، يبقى أنا I need a subject. although لا it appears دي subject and verb، يبقى what انتوا عارفين انها it serves as a subject. يبقى what appears will not be. what appears will not be. alright. طيب اللي هي هنا clause noun clause subject. طيب نبص على نمرة 8. if a food label indicates that a food is mostly carbohydrates, it does not mean is a good food to eat. It does not mean that it is a good food to eat. It does not mean that it is a good food to eat. Now let's look at number 9. A need for space law to include commercial concerns has been recognized in as much been expanding drastically in recent years. انتوا عارفين ما دام قلت in as much لازم اقول as. in as much as هي دي الوحيدة اللي بتبتدي ب as. in as much as the commercial launch industry has been expanding. alright. طيب تعالوا نبص بقى دلوقتي مع بعض على TOEFL exercise items 13 to 14. نشوف. when during nests blank nests during spring nesting season, Canadian geese are fiercely territorial. طيب when هتبقى when building ولا when are building؟ لو كانت يعني ما دام قلت when يا اما يبقى عندي a complete clause يا اما يبقى عندي reduced clause. أقول when building ممكن when building nests during so and so Canadian geese are fiercely territorial. ما اقدرش اقول when are building عشان لو قلت when are building يبقى ممكن مفروض اقول subject كمان when they are building يبقى هتبقى when building. This is a reduced adjective. Sorry, it's a reduced clause. In 1870, Calvin, along with Adirondack hunter Alva Dunning, made كل دول. Calvin made the first known ascent of Seaward Mountain far from roads or trails. طيب كان ممكن الجملة تخلص هنا. First known ascent طلع على الجبل ده of Seaward Mountain far from roads or trails يبقى ايه؟ which a remote peak اللي هي a remote يعني يا اما كنت اقول which is a remote peak far from roads يا اما اقول a remote peak far from roads or trails. شلت هنا ما بقاش عندي clause يعني ما عنديش لا فاعل ولا فاعل، ما قلتش which is ولا which was ولا حاجة، لكن شلت الفاعل والفعل وقلت a remote peak far from roads or trails. طيب نشوف نمرة 3. Cockney salmon begin to deteriorate and die soon at the age of 4. ما دام قلت soon يبقى لازم أقول after. يبقى soon after spawning at the age of 4. وانتوا عارفين ان spawning دي أنا استعملتها to reduce the adjective soon after they spawn at the age of 4. فقلنا soon after spawning. طيب نشوف نمرة 4. Behind government secrecy behind government secrecy for nearly half a century, the Hanford plant in central Washington produced plutonium for the nuclear weapons of the Cold War. طيب أقول it is hidden؟ لا، ده أنا عندي هنا كوما وكل اللي فوق ده is an adjective for the Hanford plant. وplant هنا على فكرة يعني مش معناها زرع لكن أو نبات، لكن معناها مصنع. the Hanford plant in central Washington. طيب أقول it is hidden behind ولا hidden behind؟ hidden behind government secrecy for nearly half a century, comma, the Hanford plant produced plutonium. طيب نشوف نمرة 5. Until incorrect, astronomers had assumed that the insides of white dwarfs were uniform. يبقى until they ولا their proof ولا until the astronomers recently proven ولا until recently proven. يبقى until recently proven incorrect, astronomers had assumed that the insides of white dwarfs were uniform. الجزء اللي قبل كده is not a clause. طيب نشوف نمرة 6. Artifacts from the early Chinese dynasties. Numerous archaeologists have explored the southern Silk Road. They were searching for artifacts from. يبقى دي كانت تبقى جملة كاملة. It was a search for ولا searched for ولا searching for. Searching for. Searching for artifacts. يعني while they were searching for artifacts from the early Chinese dynasties, numerous archaeologists have explored. هنا انتوا عارفين ان عندنا a clause which is reduced. While they were searching for عملناها searching for. طيب نشوف number 7. In Haley, the best known lecturer was women's rights activists Abigail Scott Donnelly of Portland, Oregon, who could usually be persuaded to speak town visiting her son. In Haley, the best known lecturer was women's rights, يعني أحسن واحدة كانت فلانة who could usually be persuaded to speak. She was in town ولا while in town ولا while she was. لو قلت while she was يبقى لازم أقول while she was in town. لازم يبقى فيه in. يبقى هقول while in town visiting her son. طيب نشوف نمرة 8. Alright, let's look at number 8. The national restaurant. عندي حاجة بقى بعد كده ممكن طبعا ده يبقى الفاعل the subject. Restaurants' ability to respond to the desires of their patrons. طيب أنا هنا ما عنديش فعل، محتاجة حاجة فعل. طيب عندي association in association is in ولا association which is in ولا association is based on. طيب the National Restaurant Association is in restaurants' ability to respond ولا is based on. Here it's not in restaurants' ability, it is based on restaurants' ability to respond to the desires of their patrons. فهتبقى دي. alright. طيب نشوف بعد كده نمرة 9. In North American waterways less than a decade ago, zebra mussels have already earned a nasty reputation for their expensive habits of clogging water pipes in the Great Lakes area. طيب in North American waterways less than a decade ago, zebra mussels have already earned. ادي عندي subject and verb اهو. طيب هنا بقى فوق هقول ايه؟ The first sighting in North American waterways less than a decade ago ولا although first sighted ولا zebra mussels were first sighted. لو قلت were first sighted هيبقى عندي اهو فاعل وفعل وتخلص الجملة عند ago. يبقى أنا محتاجة هنا a connector. Where do I have a connector? I have a connector in B. يبقى that's what I need. يبقى although first sighted in North American waterways less than a decade ago. مع إن أول مرة اتشافوا in North American waterways من أقل من 10 سنين, zebra mussels have already earned a nasty reputation of so and so. طيب نشوف نمرة 10. Small companies may take their goods abroad for trade shows without paying foreign value-added taxes by acquiring an AT carnet. طيب أقول by acquiring a document calls ولا a document called ولا by acquiring calls. أولا by acquiring لازم يجي وراها noun. acquiring يجي وراها object. يبقى أنا بختار ما بين a document calls و a document called. طبعا هي a document called, a document which is called. طيب by acquiring a document called an AT carnet. We finish today's hour. Next time we're going to continue with a very extensive exercise covering from items 1 to 14. The next hour in our application CDs, we're going to finish this and then we move to the next application. Thank you so much and we meet again. Thank you.